What if I told you that while America is worried about TikTok bans and student loans, there's a generation in Africa building billion-dollar companies with nothing but smartphones and pure hunger? Today, I'm about to blow your mind with the untold story of 400 million young Africans who are quietly taking over the world. And most Americans have no idea it's happening. Forget everything you think you know about Africa. Forget the outdated narratives. Forget the stereotypes. Because while you weren't looking, something extraordinary happened. A generation emerged that doesn't ask for permission, doesn't wait for handouts, and definitely doesn't accept limitations. This is the story of 400 million young Africans who are rewriting the rules of success, innovation, and global influence. And it's happening right now. Let me hit you with some facts that might blow your mind. Africa has the youngest population on Earth, 60% under age 25. That's 400 million young people entering their prime productive years, while America and Europe are aging rapidly. By 2050, 1 in 4 people on this planet will be African. We're talking about 2.5 billion people, with over half being under 35. But here's what's really game-changing. These aren't just numbers. These are digital natives, multilingual innovators, and problem solvers who've learned to create something from nothing. While American students graduate with $30,000 plus in debt, African youth are building million-dollar businesses from their dorm rooms. While Silicon Valley argues about work-life balance, African entrepreneurs are working 18-hour days to transform entire industries. Let me tell you about innovations coming out of Africa that would make Silicon Valley jealous. M-Pesa, a mobile payment system from Kenya that processed more transactions than PayPal when PayPal was still trying to figure out mobile payments. Today, it processes over $300 billion annually. Zipline, drone delivery service that started delivering medical supplies in Rwanda and is now expanding globally. They were doing drone delivery before Amazon even announced Prime Air. Andela, training world-class software developers faster and cheaper than any American coding bootcamp, supplying talent to Google, Microsoft, and Facebook. But here's what's really impressive. They're not copying Western solutions. They're creating uniquely African solutions that the West is now trying to copy. Take FinTech. Africa skipped the entire traditional banking infrastructure and went straight to mobile money. Now, American companies are studying African models to improve financial inclusion. In agriculture, African youth are using AI and satellite technology to help smallholder farmers increase yields. In healthcare, they're using telemedicine to reach remote areas that American healthcare still can't figure out how to serve profitably. But technology is just the surface. What's really changing the game is the mindset. African youth don't have the luxury of excuses. When there's no electricity, they innovate solar solutions. When there's no internet infrastructure, they find ways to maximize low bandwidth connections. When there's no venture capital, they bootstrap and create value first. This creates a unique breed of entrepreneur, resourceful, resilient, and incredibly hungry for success. While American youth debate about finding their passion, African youth are passionate about finding solutions. While American students worry about safe spaces, African students are worried about creating safe futures for their families and communities. The average African entrepreneur I've met speaks 3 to 4 languages fluently, understands multiple cultures intuitively, and thinks globally by default. They're not trying to serve just their local market. They're building for the continent and beyond. And here's what Americans need to understand. This isn't charity case stuff. This is legitimate competition. African companies are not just serving African markets anymore. They're coming for global markets, and they're winning. This African youth revolution isn't happening in isolation. It's reshaping global dynamics. China recognized this early. They've invested over $200 billion in Africa in the last decade, not as charity, but as strategic business investment. They understand that Africa's youth represent the next consumer boom. European companies are now opening innovation labs in Lagos, Nairobi, and Cape Town because they realize that's where breakthrough solutions are being developed. Even American companies are paying attention. Google opened its first African AI lab in Ghana. Facebook is investing heavily in African tech talent. Microsoft is building data centers across the continent. But here's the kicker. African youth aren't just being hired by these companies. They're starting companies that compete with them. And they're winning. The global workforce is about to be flooded with highly skilled, English-speaking, digitally native African talent who are willing to work harder for less while delivering higher quality results. American companies have two choices: partner with this talent or compete against it. There's no ignoring it. So what does this mean for you as an American? First, opportunity. Smart American investors and entrepreneurs are already building partnerships with African youth. They're not seeing them as charity cases, but as the next generation of global business leaders. Second, competition. If you're not innovating, if you're not hungry, if you're not willing to work as hard as someone who's building from scratch, you're going to be left behind. Third, inspiration. These young Africans are proving that circumstances don't determine outcomes. Mindset does. They're showing that when you have nothing to lose and everything to gain, you become unstoppable. The American dream of building something from nothing, of disrupting industries, of refusing to accept limitations. That dream is more alive in African youth today than anywhere else in the world. And the beautiful thing is, they're not anti-American. They admire American innovation. They want to learn from American successes. But they're not waiting for American permission to succeed. Here's my challenge to you. Stop seeing Africa as a charity case and start seeing it as your biggest opportunity and your fiercest competition. Whether you're an investor, entrepreneur, student, or just someone who cares about the future, you need to understand this African youth revolution. Because ready or not, they're changing the game. The question is, are you going to be part of it, or are you going to be disrupted by it? If this opened your eyes to something new, hit that like button. If you want to stay ahead of global trends that will impact your future, subscribe and turn on notifications. And let me know in the comments, what's your biggest takeaway from this African youth revolution? Are you ready to be part of the change? The game is changing. The only question is, are you ready to play at this new level?